this is a study, impact study, ex-post impact study conducted in 2 districts of Nepal. The project is being implemented by Biodiversity International Supported Project and implemented by LIVER, Local Initiative for Biodiversity Research and Development. So I'm focusing on home gardens. So it is a bit different from kitchen garden, because kitchen garden is more few species of annual crops, vegetables, basically vegetables in the backyard. But home garden here, I mean, it's a more diverse species of annuals and perennials, ranging from climbers, fruits, vegetables, to medicinal herbs and cash crops, and so many. So I'm focusing here how the biodiversity-based home garden has impact on consumption and nutrition of family. So here, basically, since home gardens have diverse annuals and perennial crops, they are broadly integrated into larger farming system. Okay, if a rural farm household they have not only small home gardens, but they have a larger cultivated fields which are integrated. And also they provide large shares of family food and income and nutrition to the households. And basically the importance of home garden here is they utilize marginal spaces, okay, marginal land, unused spaces, and surplus family labor. So this is very important for us. And despite the importance of those home gardens, they are often overlooked by the policymaker, planners, and donors. So I'm just going to focus how important home garden is, we need to consider. So the background of this study, so this is, I already said, ex-post impact studies on home garden, which is, the project is being implemented by LIVER with the technical support of Biodiversity International and funded by SDC. So this is basically the impact study conducted after 7 years. The project was launched from 2002 to 2005. The basic objective of this study was to investigate whether project participation, the participation in the home garden, households' participation to home garden, enhances improves the adoption of home garden technology and practices, and also to assess the impact of adoption of home garden technology and practices on household food production, biodiversity conservation, and family nutrition. So the research hypothesis here basically were focused on major 2 parts. So biodiversity-based home gardens produce and promote home consumption of diverse and quality diets. That is the basic the focus to investigate in this study. And also home garden promotion can increase food availability, cash income, and dietary diversity of rural households. So I just would like to assess this hypothesis in this study. So the framework and methodologies are very well, as some of you already known. So the basic concept is the first identify the framework for the impact assessment. What are the causal pathways, and then only conduct needful socioeconomic surveys combining quantitative and qualitative studies, including stakeholder interviews, in-depth case studies, field observations. Here I used difference in difference method. The analytical framework was difference in difference methods, where we often call it double difference methods, where the assessment was done before and after, and with and without approach. So to avoid the attribution bias, I combine both before and after and without approach, as to estimate the gain in consumption of the rural household. So also I use econometric models like probate, Tobit, and count regression models for assessing the impact. So this is the causal pathways. So the project intervention leads to adoption of home garden practices and technologies, and then it leads to homestead biodiversity, growing diverse species of cultivated plants, fruits, vegetables, and so many other ornamentals and so on, herbal medicines. And that leads to gain in production and also gain in income. So that ultimately leads to consumption, household consumption of nutrient-rich fruits and vegetables. That is the basic causal pathway that I use in this study. This is an analytical framework for difference in difference methods. This is an economic framework. I don't need to explain more. So we'll go. So this is the study site. So there are 4 districts so this home garden project, first phase of the home garden project was implemented during 2005. But now the lever has expanded with the STC support up to 20 districts now, and also in partnership with DOA, Department of Agriculture. So this is the first phase where out of 4 districts, the selection was only for 2 districts representing hills and Tarai. The hills from Gulmi and the Tarai from Rupandi districts were selected. So here the assessment was based on both selection of treatment villages where project was implemented, and also in the treatment village, the selection of both participant households and non-participant households were done. The objective is to the objective of selecting non-participant household is to measure the spillover effect. And also, of course, there is a controls households, control villages. So total house sample size was 82 for each districts. So altogether 164. The major findings. So if you see the comparative household and farm characteristics, the adapting home garden adapting households have relatively larger family size, educations, and so on. Though the difference is not very high, but there is a relatively larger, but holding of livestock holding, and some of the parameters were almost same. So this is the technology home garden adoption by the participant household. There are a set of, home garden is not a single intervention. There are a set of practices and technologies they were intervened in the project sites, ranging from nursery management to training and pruning of fruits, organic pest management, and raising of nursery beds. So there was almost 10 technology practices. They were combined into aggregate index and measuring the adoption. So the participant household had a very high rate of adoptions. So if you see the biodiversity maintained by the households, participant households, the biodiversity in terms of growing diverse cultivated species, vegetables, fruits, ornamentals, medicinal herbs, cash crops, because home garden constitute not only vegetables and fruits, but also ornamentals, cash crops, fodder trees, forages, and many other species which are not found in the larger farming system and forest area. Even sometimes it gives refuge to very endangered species that are not found in larger farming system and forest. So obviously the home garden was dominant species were vegetables. 44% of the share of the home garden was vegetables, followed by the fruit trees and others. So this is what is the impact? If we assess the impact between participant, non-participant household in the same treatment village and also the control villages, then if we find that there is some difference. Participant households have relatively a large number of cultivated species, and also they have a large number of vegetable species and varieties, and also they tend to add up more number of indigenous vegetable species, ranging from climbers, and so on. So this is the impact on adoptions. If you see the adoptions, which is the indicator for impact, adoption on the production, impact on productions, see the very large share of increase in the production of food and production of fruits and vegetables, basically by participant households. And if you see the market sale value and cash income, the participant household have large increment in the market sale and also an increase in the cash income as compared to control and non-participant household. So in terms of consumption also, there were very high increment between now and before. And also in terms of frequency of the consumption, the vegetable and fruit consumptions were higher among participant households. And so now here, if we want for nutrition, we need to focus on specific nutrient-rich vegetables and fruits. Here I tend to use green leafy vegetable as an indicator of micronutrient rich. Okay, green leafy vegetable. So the objective was to measure the increment in the consumption of green leafy vegetable by the households, and also increment in the consumption of vitamin A rich fruits such as papaya and manga. So when compared between participant and control household, there was significant difference. Participant household had large increment in the consumption of those. And so while assessing the determinant of these participation, adoption, and the maintenance of biodiversity. So I use a probability regression model to assess whether participation has impact, and Tobit regression model, which is used assessment of the adoption, because the set of technologies were not 0 or 1, because there were some partial adapters, some were non-adapters, some were adapting fully. So Tobit regression model accounts for that. And so for biodiversity conservation, the for counting the species richness, so I used the Poisson regression model to account for whether there is impact on biodiversity. Then we see the some of the variables like age, education are significant. Particularly livestock holding was very important for adoption of home garden practices, and training, farmers training, particularly nursery management training was important for this one adoption, and isolate for maintenance of biodiversity, more number of diverse species. So even the sources of non-farm income tends to be important, influencing for the adoption and participation. So when you see the regression, simple regression assessing the impact on production consumption gains, then we see some of the variables like household size, farm size were important for factor for increment in the production and consumption. So the summary and conclusion. So even though home gardens are very small, tiny lands, but they played important role in the family nutrition and consumption. Okay, and also providing quantity, frequency, and diversity of quality food, because the maintaining diverse species helps to provide regular supply of vegetables and fruits, even during off-season and around the year. So that is a major impact. And also diversity in the home gardens, founded on homestead biodiversity, promotes better dietary diversity, and also family nutrition. This is what I conclude here. And also there are some of the socioeconomic factors, household specific, were important, like particularly access to training, educations are important for adoption and consumption. So for recommendations, I suggest that home garden concept founded on the biodiversity, growing diverse species with diverse use values need to be promoted, so that it helps to improve the nutrition of the households. And also home gardens can be better promoted by linking with market, value addition, and also by organic farming and so on, because home garden and homestay, and also tourism sector, home garden and homestay are very much closely linked, that can be promoted. And also biodiversity-based home gardens can be environmentally and socially beneficial and sustainable approach of providing household nutrition, because as compared to externally supplied nutrient package or pharmacy-based approach such as supplement of vitamin A, these are not sustainable and also not accessible for many rural households. So this can be more self-reliant approach, and also helps to better environmental services because of the organic production and local food and conservation of environment. Thank you very much.